One of the questions that we always get when we get calls about divorce is, how much is this going to cost? Hi, I'm Charles Hatley with Melone Hatley PC, where we truly are your partner through the divorce process. And part of being a partner is we try to educate you on all the hidden costs in a divorce case. So we all hear about divorce and we hear about attorneys and we watch fancy shows like Suits and other things where they're running around driving nice cars. So we think the main cost of divorce is going to be your attorney. And I specifically say your attorney because not a lot of thought is given to the other side. So the first hidden cost that we always discuss is, what is the other side going to be doing through this process to potentially run up costs? Not because they're being bad or not because they're taking some nefarious action, but because maybe they go out and hire somebody who is not willing to be cooperative. Or they go out and hire somebody that does personal injury, no offense to personal injury attorneys, but they hire a personal injury attorney to run their family law case. And what ends up happening is the other side is filing a whole bunch of motions. They're filing a whole bunch of things in court that have to be defended against, which ultimately run up your costs. Now, of course, in that particular situation, we would go back and we'd ask for attorney's fees, but anybody that tells you attorney's fees are guaranteed is lying to you. The second part that runs up costs is looking at how much information must be shared between the parties in order to accurately get through your case. And what I mean by that is everybody has a different situation. Sometimes people are W-2 employees, they get paid a straight salary, no overtime. Sometimes people are W-2 employees, but their salary peaks seasonally, right? Like a UPS driver, a FedEx driver who's going to get overtime during the holiday season, so their income's going to peak seasonally. And what we want to do in that instance is we have to keep digging, and we have to keep digging. But a good attorney is going to discuss that with you through the digging process to help explain the ROI. The return on investment for what you're investing now in order to get something out of the back end. Sometimes things are difficult, especially in military families, where you may have moved around several times. You might have owned a property in one location and be renting it out. And we have to do discovery to figure out the value of that property now versus the value of that property when you were first married. This calls in the third thing that can raise the price for your divorce that not a lot of people discuss, and especially not a lot of people discuss it during the consultation phase of representation. And that is the need for experts. So we can talk about all these fancy retirement accounts. We can talk about the equity that exists in your home. Let's say you're really lucky and you got in on the ground floor of a startup and have Series A, Series B stock valuations that we have to deal with that vest at a certain point. We likely will not be able to explain those to the court adequately, and you're going to want to bring in an expert. And the reason that you're bringing in an expert and you're going through the cost of bringing in that expert is to find extra value on the other end that will give you a return on investment. But that's kind of 3A. 3B is bringing in an expert for the benefit of your children. It is not infrequent that we see children being raised a certain way in a home. They might have an IEP at the school, an individual education program. And what that means is that the parents have worked with the school to create a program with the child. And now that the relationship is breaking down, the child may need to change schools, or where the child is going to school may be up for argument. And it's necessary to bring in an expert to talk about the benefit of the IEP that the child has in the current school versus the IEP that the child may be able to get in the other school. And that's an argument you always want to make, is we know what the child's getting now versus what the child may get later. When you're going through a divorce, another cost that often creeps up is the cost of a transcript. Nobody talks about a transcript. There are very few things worse than having to read what you said as it was written down contemporaneously. So as attorneys, we don't talk about it very much. But the reality is a transcript can be what is necessary between knowing that somebody told the truth or knowing that somebody lied. There's really two areas where you're going to run into a transcript: at a deposition and at trial. So the other not really talked about cost is depositions. The reason we use depositions is we want to make sure that our clients, that you, understand what the other side, understand what the other witnesses are going to say before they come to trial. So that is a cost that we don't frequently talk about. The final cost, and one that's easy to avoid, is the cost of going back and forth on negotiation agreements when you can no longer negotiate. You can't negotiate with the terrorist, is something that we always like to say. But the reality is that at some point, it becomes an unknown cost to continue to send offers to the other side when the other side is not responding in a way that shows goodwill. So you'll have to jump off and go through divorce. Here at Melone Hatley PC, we do our best to be as transparent as possible with you each and every step of the way. No, we can't estimate what the cost is going to be at the beginning, but what we can do is sit down with you as a partner through your divorce to discuss the return on investment on each and every single expenditure that you're going to take. So if this sounds refreshing and you're looking for help in your relationship going through a divorce, give Melone Hatley PC a call and see the difference that a partner can make for you.